And we are live. We are live. Hey, Nico. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Quick fire. Quick fire. That's
Quick,
good. That's good. That's good. Pierre, how
quick
are you?
fire.
How's Malta?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. You know, there's this big countdown appears on the screen. The 3-minute countdown. It's like a rocket ship is about to take off, and I get this feeling we need to always start this in a really big note. But then it turns out a little bit blasé. It's the story of our life, I guess. It's a big build-up, big disappointment. But anyway, no. But everything's
Indeed,
great
indeed.
here, Nico.
Yeah,
Everything's great
and
here.
first of all, sorry from my end. It seems like I had a kind of bad internet connection last week. So the last kind of 2-3 minutes, I was a little bit kind of lost with people couldn't hear me anymore. Fingers crossed. Today, I'm back home. Internet
Yes.
connection is stable, so all
Yeah.
good, all good, all good, all good.
Yes, Nico, and you showed us before. You're a little bit of a RoboCop here, the iGaming version of the famous RoboCop movie here with your knee surgery. How is the knee doing?
It's getting better. It's getting better. It's a long walk. In the end, it's a long walk. So had the surgery by beginning of January, and then you're kind of stretching you're increasing the ankle a little bit more every week. As of now, I'm at 80 degrees. And
Yes.
by end of February, it should be back to normal. But every day doing the kind of 3 to 4 hours of exercises, etc. Could be better, but could also be worse. It could also be worse.
Yes.
So fingers crossed. I will just continue to do this. So all good. How are you, not Malta?
Happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to hear that. Good to hear that it's heading the right direction, here, Nico. And
Yeah.
I want to say good morning as well to Henry McLean. Good morning to Bodgan as well. Good supporters of ours. Nice to see you guys back in the stream here. We are absolutely fully live today. We are putting ourselves on the line here as per usual with the chat windows here right in the middle of the screen. So if we say anything that is absolutely not correct, we are anticipated to be judged by our statements live here today, Nico. It's always exciting, a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's nice to have people here joining us in, and so we can have a nice discussion between us, but not only between us, but also between the audience. And so, if the audience has questions, or if the audience have remarks or comments, or they want to correct anything that we say that is not right, we can always lift those comments here right in the stream. So don't be shy for the people who are listening in today. Feel free to contribute or to ask questions, or if there's anything that we should discuss here during this hour today, we are very happy to do so. And good morning to Carolina, good morning to Rory as well. Good to see you guys in the stream here as well. So, Nico, I mean, jumping into it, it's been again a week of controversy of the industry. Of course, a lot of interesting things are taking place here this week, and something we are testing out here today for the first time. The aim here is every week we want to kind of include something new in these weekly roundups. And today we have a special guest in one of the segments as well, Jake Evans, who wrote this. Who broke the story on the Evolution short seller report last Saturday. He's going to join us today to break down exactly what that short seller story consisted of, that wiped off more than 2 billion euro from Evolution's market cap here. So he's going to join us today and talk about that report as well, which is very interesting. And good morning to Frederick here as well, who's joining us in the stream too. And so, Nico, that's obviously one of the segments that we have here today. But what else do we have in front of us during this favorite hour of the week, let's say?
So first of all, we have, as you already mentioned, always a lot of interesting topics. So what we intend to discuss is, first of all, just let me have a look. The part where Jake will join us. It's the second short seller report on Evolution. The hit with respect to how the stock price of Evolution took a dive. For the first short seller report has even more significant. If you just remember that, if I'm not mistaken, 25-30% of the stock price has gone down, which wiped out even more of the market cap. Then we will talk about the ongoing controversy of Playtech and the aristocrat topic. Then Disney has a new job offer. This is something we want to zoom in as well. Entain is about to invest 100 million pounds into the metaverse space, and we have some insights about Florida and why the ballot or the kind of aiming of FanDuel and DraftKings, and they put roughly around 37 million into this investigation ballot and the report. Why they fell short, which put the overall state and the gaming offerings at Florida into a kind of inconvenient juggle as well. So we have a lot of to discuss from our end, but as Pierre already stated, if you, the audience, wants us to join in or to zoom in into a specific topic, we're receptive, and we just want to, be open to each and every topic which you want us to zoom in. And this is what's in it for you, for the audience, as of this morning.
Exactly. We do our best here to give some limelight to the things, but we appreciate the help from the audience here as well. But before we dive into the evolution short seller report, I was just thinking if we can spend a couple of minutes to discuss another controversy that is unfolding at the moment, which is the fact that our favorite conference as an industry, ICE, which traditionally takes place in February every year in London for the last 20 or so years, has obviously been moved to the Easter weekend, or Easter week rather, in April. And as an effect of that, it seems that many of the major exhibitors are looking to pull out from the conference. There's been press releases by Merkur, Novomatic, EGT, Playing Go, Aristocrat, IGT, Scientific Games, Relax. All the major exhibitors, more or less, have chosen to pull out from the event this year. And obviously, the other exhibitors and also the delegates are wondering how this conference is going to be able to come through this year with such a big kind of empty floor space that have been left by the major exhibitors. It's also worth pointing out here that the press releases that has come out from these major exhibitors are very clear to point out that they are really excited to come back to ICE next year. And obviously, this is the industry's primary conference at the end of the day, and so when we discuss this topic, I think it's important to point out that we are talking about the undisputed number one conference of the industry, and we don't want this reporting to kind of accelerate the bad news that are coming out. I think personally, as an event organizer myself and so on, that there are solutions to these problems. Let's say if major exhibitors pull out in order to pull off a really good show anyway, all of a sudden you have a lot of floor space that you can use to give the delegates a nicer conference experience. You could expand it by increasing kind of more lobby spaces, more relaxing areas, demo areas. You can put a conference space as in some content on the floor as well, which would be quite cool as well. But what do you think, Nico? And what's the word on the street for you in general around ours?
Yeah. So also within the chats where the both of us are in, right? There are news floating around, where first of all, as soon as Novomatic pulled out, right, they're at least taking 10 to 12% of the overall floor space. Then, of course, the Gausselmann Group pulled out as well. In total, just with these two exhibitors, we are speaking about 22, 23, 24, 25% of the overall floor space gone. right? And then it's a negative domino effect with even smaller operators compared to, of course, the Gauselmann and Novomatic pulled out as well with the Play and Go. You just named them. And as you already mentioned, we will just see how it actually will work out. Because if you, as an organizer, have to deal with 35-40% of the overall floor space not being taken. Of course, if you just take a look at how Excel, so the overall exhibition floor is built up with all the different halls. If you just remember in 2019, when we had the last big one, because in 2020 even the Chinese exhibitors didn't show up in the floor space. So in 2019, we had all halls being open. We had the regular ICE taking place. We've seen the overall industry, everybody was meeting and greeting. So what has changed in between 2019 and 2022? First of all, there's a lot of competition for exhibitors lining up or doing an exhibition like this. If you just remember Malta, Eman is doing a great job. iGaming Next doing a great job. Ras and his team with the SBC is doing a great job. So the overall competition for exhibition has significantly increased. First of all, and as you already mentioned, the undisputed champion of the gaming industry, with ICE being the lead exhibition. Of course, this is also the result of the overall competition, which has increased, and we will just see how Clarion will deal with this and how they will cope with the changing dates, and for sure the changing perception of the exhibitors as well. But wherever there's competition, wherever there are issues, there's always a solution to these as well, and we will just see how it evolves.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we have a question here as well from Emmanuel Pano, who's asking, do you think that the reason that Evolution decided to do their own online event is because of the situation with and that is definitely the case. We are helping Evolution to produce this digital event that will be live streamed next week, and it's very much a response because usually what Evolution, or rather what NetEnt was really good at doing ICE, was to always reveal their roadmap for the next coming months at ICE, and it was always a favorite amongst the exhibitors and the delegates to come by the NetEnt stand and to gather around when they would do these big reveals. And obviously, since ICE is now moved for 2 months, they have chosen to instead create a digital event a la Apple, kind of thing, which Apple does these digital events to roll out their products these days. And so that's what Evolution is doing here as a response to the fact that ICE is moved as well. And it's a quite cool thing for Evolution, because all of a sudden they are able to reach a much bigger audience here, rather than people who are only on the floor. And so now they are trying to aim for attracting the investment segment, the wider part of the industry who cannot attend ICE. And hopefully there'll be a lot more people who will be able to kind of join in and watch what Evolution has in store for the next couple of months here, when they are revealing the next games that are coming here next week. So it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Yep.
And so Nico, what do you say we jump over to the speaking of Evolution? What do you think we jump over to the short seller report here that we
Yes.
had to deal with in the last week, which was another really interesting movement of the industry, of course. Just to give some nuance here, we have a special guest who will come in just a little bit, Jake Evans, who broke that story. But essentially, another short seller report came out, or it actually did not come out, but it was a short seller report by an organization called The Analyst, who put together this short seller report for their clients. which basically recommended that the Evolution share price should be a lot lower than what it currently is, about half of what it currently is. And this is due to the fact that Evolution takes a majority of the revenue from unregulated markets. And the argument that the analyst made is that unregulated revenue should be valued at a lower multiple than regulated revenue. So regulated revenue should be seen as more sustainable and long term, whereas unregulated revenue should be seen as something more risky, let's say. And so because of this short seller report that was rumored at the beginning, even as a rumor, it brought down the share price so that more than 2 billion euro was wiped out of the market cap from Evolution. And since then, the shares have continued to fall further. And so this report has cast a lot of doubt on Evolution's revenue and how they should be valued, essentially. Now, the counter argument here is that the analyst report is quite overblown, and they are not taking into account the position in the market that Evolution has. They cannot really be compared to any other competitors in the landscape for various reasons. But in any case, we have a special guest here today. We're going to try this out today for the first time to see if we can get a third person in here today into the stream, which is essentially Jake Evans, who is the managing editor of iGaming Next. So if possible, feel free to include the Jake Evans here into the stream if we have the opportunity to do so. There we go. Technology is on our side today. Welcome, Jake. How are you doing today?
Perfect. There he is.
Morning, guys. How are we doing? Yeah, what an absolute honor to be the first special guest. I hope I don't ruin the excellent dynamic you two have got going on between you. This is my my first appearance on TV, so hopefully not too overawed by the occasion.
Yeah. I mean, you're making your debut here in front of millions of people. Literally.
Even put a shirt on especially for it.
Yeah, it's a good humble beginning, I think, here as well in the iGaming Next weekly chat here in a nice soft environment, I think. So Jake, you're the managing editor of iGaming Next, of course, with us, and you broke this story and you read the report here. You managed to get your hands on it and reported it last week. Can you summarize the report a bit and from your perspective, how you see it? What did this report entail? What was the accusations against Evolution, and what other dynamics are at play here?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, I'd be happy to do that. Before I do that, I thought it'd be maybe quite nice to give some color about how this story sort of came onto our radar, sort of peek behind the curtain, if you like. So yeah, I mean, we were talking on Microsoft Teams as a team at iGaming Next, and we noticed that the Evolution share price was down about 11%, I think, and like, you know, the gambling industry stocks are so volatile these days at the moment. You never know what's causing it, whether something's occurred to go wrong, or so we did a bit of research, and there were a lot of like disgruntled retail investors on Twitter. Basically, Evolution has a huge sort of fan base of investors on Twitter that are very committed to their investments and do a lot of detailed research, and they were kind of teasing that this report was out there somewhere, but we didn't know where. And they were saying, "Oh, I can't believe the findings in this report. I can't believe this has caused the share price to fall. Everyone already knows about all of these things to do with Evolution." So, yeah, I mean, we tried to find it without a great deal of luck, and then we did get our hands on it. Luckily, it was about 40 pages in total, so it took a while to read. And yeah, I ended up spending about sort of 3 or 4 hours writing it up, and then obviously we had to go to Evolution to give them a right to reply, because it was, you know, it's quite sensitive. It contained some quite controversial topics in it, and Carl, their head of investor relations, bless him, just said, yeah, thanks a lot for this story, Jake, but we're not going to be able to get back to you today on this. And I was like, oh, I've just spent 3 hours writing this story and now I'm not even going to be able to publish it. But no, they worked as quickly as possible, sort of, to help us out and put their point of view across, which was great. But yeah, I mean, our story sort of focused in on the share price decline and you know, some of the report's biggest concerns about the US and Asia and stuff. But I thought, it might be a good idea to actually revert to the report itself, because it condensed its sort of findings into some quite nice bullet points. And I still don't think it's been particularly widely distributed as I understand it. So yeah, I mean, the first page is 5 bullet points. It just says, so Evolution's argument that it's the operator's responsibility to verify end customers is acceptable in relation to smaller customers, particularly through an aggregator. But we believe it is a harder argument to justify for the larger operators with dedicated tables run by Evolution. So that's one of their first concerns. And it's worth saying that the report in general, like you said, Pierre, said Evolution's unregulated revenues, which come to about 62% of total revenues, should be valued on a lower multiple, really. I think they said 10 times 2021 a bit rather than 40 times 2021 a bit for the regulated portion of the business. And a couple more of the bullet points, sorry. Say, some of these larger operators appear to be promoting VPN use on social media. Again, that's nothing to do with Evolution. And then the other point says revenue from cryptocurrency casinos are a concern, especially stake.com, who we talked about on Twitter yesterday. And there are some dedicated Evolution live tables on their website. So yeah, the report kind of questioned how much of the business was coming from the US and those crypto casinos. And then finally it said, Asian revenues are a worry. Several of the markets we consider a grey market, and that's fine, but we would argue that China, Singapore, Vietnam, and Thailand are black markets for gambling. So yeah, I mean, the 62% unregulated revenue was their big concern. And that's justified, but it's also not a secret. Evolution make clear note of that in their quarterly reports. So if you were an attuned investor that followed a company incredibly closely and researched your investments well, you would already know all of this. So I think that's why those people on Twitter are a bit shocked to see the share price fall as it did, because people within the industry and people investing in the industry are already kind of well aware of this, so to speak.
Yeah, it's interesting, and as you're saying, Jake, it seems that in the report there's nothing exactly new that comes to light here. And in the November short seller report was very much focused on the legality of accepting players from black markets, even though Evolution is a supplier and not the end operator. But that report focused on that. Even as a supplier, Evolution has a responsibility to do due diligence on the operators, let's say. Whereas this short seller report is more focused on asking the question, what should the unregulated revenue be valued at? And their argument is that the investors are valuing the unregulated revenue too high. But I think also in this short seller report, and I guess this is where the kind of counter argument comes, is that Evolution is in a unique position in the market without a clear second competitor in a landscape where the live product, where they derive most of the revenue, is not a product which you can just compete against Evolution overnight. It's very difficult to build the infrastructure surrounding a live product, of course. And even if you put in an enormous amount of money, it's going to take a long time, and there will be a lot of trial and error before a potential competitor could emerge. And so with that in mind, you can't really compare Evolution to its competitors and how you value their competitors when it comes to their share price. It's something along those lines. I think, Jake, am I getting that understanding correctly?
Yeah, I think so. And it was kind of also highlighting what could happen in a worst case scenario. I think that's why some of the investors sort of said it was scaremongering, because it's unlikely that US regulators and Asian regulators and all the kind of unregulated regulators at the same time would clamp down on Evolution's business or the business of its operator partners. So that's never going to happen at the same time. It's more likely to be one area that's impacted. And then if the business is properly diversified, it can kind of swallow those headwinds, right? That's what we've seen on the operator side is operators and diversing into new markets and new products. And Evolution's obviously done that in slots now with NetEnt and Red Tiger. So yeah, you can see where they're coming from, and I think that there is a temptation with Evolution because it's the second biggest public gambling company in the world. It's a proper rocket stock. It's got all the hype surrounding it. The product's incredible. There is a temptation to ignore the concerns, I think, and this is really all that report was doing, was highlighting those concerns of what could happen if things go wrong. But like you say, it kind of glossed over slightly the fact that Evolution isn't the only company that's operating in these markets, and that there's a hell of a lot of gambling suppliers and operators that operate in exactly the same way. Perhaps they're just not as headline as Evolution are.
Exactly, Evolution have grown to become so big that they are in the limelight in this regard, because it's an enormous market cap, of course, and investors are taking big decisions with a large amount of money, of course, and so all eyes are on Evolution here specifically, and that's why they are being kind of zoned in for these short seller reports. Really interesting here, Jake. I don't know, Nico, is there any questions from your end as well? Nico, sorry to interrupt you here a little bit. The stream is very adamant that the mic has been muted. I don't know if we can hear you perfectly here. Can people hear me in the chat, perhaps? Am I muted as well, by any chance, or is it only Nico? It would be interesting to let's see. It might be that we are all muted, but in any case, this is being recorded, and perhaps Nicolas in the background can have a look and see what where the technology is failing us at the moment. But okay, we can. Okay, so I am fine, but it seems that Nico is muted. So then I would ask maybe Nicolas, our head of marketing here in the background, that maybe there's an audio setting on Nico's side that has been mistakenly dragged to 0. Could we check that perhaps? And Nico, should we try again? See if we can hear you perhaps? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's try. Let's see. Let's hope for the best here. Okay, so Nico. Okay, close the window and then we go. Okay, you and me, Jack, for now, in other words, and then we'll see if we can get Nico back into the stream. This is the beauty of doing things live, and the unpredictable nature of doing things live, and it's scary but also exciting sometimes. The same with the chat; it's also live. You never know what's gonna come up here. So far, the chat has been kind to us. But Jake, going over to the short seller report here again. Like, what do you think? What do you think is the next step for Evolution? Like, should Evolution get ahead of the issue and kind of do a PR crusade here, so to say? Like, should they really like try to respond as much as they can, or should they just kind of ignore these reports that, according to them, are not factual? Like, what's the right thing to do here, do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that's Evolution's style, to be honest. They're not going to come out and put on a press conference and say, "Oh, I'm really sorry, guys. We'll try to do things more by the book." I mean, they're a ruthless business that is a market leader, and everything is focused in on product and efficiency, and that's why they are where they are. And legally, we've discussed this before. Legally, that they don't really have a case to answer. Certain regulators are going to come and answer questions, but they are right, and that is really the responsibility of their operator partners. So we've seen with the previous short seller report. I mean, they only really responded to that because they were kind of forced into it because of the share price. And Martin Carlton, the CEO, did a sort of very impromptu online webcast, and they didn't take any questions. It was very much a sort of robust defense of Evolution's business practices, and that's how they are as a business. They're very focused and they get things done. So I think they'll probably just see this as an irritating distraction, and we'll hope that it will be business as usual again by Q4, which is next week.
Yeah, exactly. And as Lindh pointed out here, it's the timing of the short seller report is very interesting, with 2 weeks before Q4 during the silent period. So to say, and the silent period is when the organization has a responsibility to kind of not report any major movements, or not kind of disturb the markets before the report is coming here. So it is worth to point out, as you mentioned here as well, that the short seller reports, the quarterly report is going to be released on Wednesday, I believe, of Evolution. So we have that to look forward to as well, of course. It will be very interesting to see, because I think the markets are expecting this report to be very strong. And that is in contrast, of course, to the share price that have fell about 35% since the peak here earlier in the fall. So it will be interesting to see how potentially strong reports financially will affect Evolution. But I guess that I guess as well that the investors will be looking very carefully on the movements here between the unregulated and the regulated revenue now. As you pointed out here, Jake, this has always been reported in the quarterly reports, the distribution between regulated and unregulated revenues. But I don't think that is something that has particularly caught the eyes of the investors. But obviously, starting from this quarter, I would assume that Evolution will be either punished, or they will be benefited from having a swing towards the more regulated revenue.
Yeah. I don't think the kind of viewpoint of investors will have much of an impact on that. I think they'll put the percentage in the report, and I don't, and I think that will probably be about it. I'm not expecting them to elaborate on their unregulated market activity, because that's not really how these companies do that. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, the online event, I think, is the day before, or certainly in the same week. So once they sort of teased that product roadmap as well, because we know with Evolution, like, even just the products can move the share price occasionally. People are incredibly bullish when they see the stuff that Todd and his team come out with. So yeah, I'm probably as interested in that as I am in the Q4 report, really.
Yeah. It's something funny to point out there, and it's that the Crazy Time, the biggest live show that Evolution has on its own, would be valued more than Playtech. It's a funny statistic that it's kind of like Apple and the AirPods. If the AirPods was a company, it would be like the 30th biggest listed company in the United States, or something like that, just the AirPods alone. That's how powerful Evolution are obviously on the live segment. So,
and the one we saw yesterday was YouTube's ad revenue in Q4 was more than Netflix's entire business.
Entire subscriber base.
Frightening.
Crazy number. So shall we give it a try here with Nico again? And the audience, feel free to point out here if we can hear Nico.
Yeah, you're guiding us through this. So.
Yes.
So can you hear me now? Because never heard Nico be so. So can you hear me now? Because I'm unmuted. I'm ready to talk. I'm just seeing green lights. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, and we can hear you perfectly, Nico. I hope the audience is able to. Oh yeah, there we go.
Okay,
Nico, you're back.
Yeah. As soon as Daniel gives his go,
Nico.
as soon as Daniel can hear me, I'm all good, right? Thank you.
He's just providing a bit of comic relief to the stream, I think.
So Nico, why don't you take over your sentiment here?
Yeah, so first of all, we have to distinguish two topics, right? We have the real economy, which is the company itself, which are how are their product, how is their product, how are their products, what are their verticals, what are the revenues, and then we have the financial industry as well, the stock price. Usually, the stock price actually represents the future of a company, how investors see the future of a company, etc. And as Jake already pointed out, that Evolution, the stock of Evolution, is bought by professional investors. They are pretty aware of where the revenues actually come from, etc. What are short seller aiming for? Usually, short seller, before actually releasing an anonymous short seller report, they fill their pockets with financial tools which allow them, as soon as a stock goes down, they are gaining money. So they have a high interest in a stock going down, diving, because then they will even earn more money. We've seen this with Tesla, which drove Elon Musk pretty mad. We've seen this also with DraftKings and the Hindenburg report. And if you just take a look how much the volume literally increased just before one of these reports on Evolution had been released, you see that some people, some guys or girls on the stock market actually already positioned themselves for something coming up. So this is also another story which we always have to keep in mind, and why short seller actually have a high interest in the stock going down. If you then just remember that in Germany, Florian Homm was one of the guys literally gaining a 3-digit increase in his own salary as soon as he started sending out these short seller reports. Then Evolution is always considered as being one of the acquisition targets for Las Vegas Sands as well. So also they could have a high interest in lowering the overall price, right? If the market cap from $40 billion is now worth $22 billion, they just changed the price at 50%. So we always have to literally weigh all the arguments. And Jake, first of all, great job for getting your hands on the short seller report, which has not been distributed on Twitter. Each and everyone could have downloaded. So first of all, it has just been a rumor, and great that you just provided a great insight and a story. And now it's up to us to actually try to connect the bits and pieces. Who and which companies, which players in the market have a high interest in, first of all, the price going down, and what is their outcome?
Yes. Yeah, it will be very interesting to see the fallout here again with the financial reports coming out next week here. Of course, it's going to be extremely interesting. But Jake, we want to thank you here for jumping in to us and joining us here in the weekly news chat today, Jake. And as a final question to you, I can see the chat is discussing whether everyone is going to ICE or not. So the question to you here as a final thing today is: are you going to ICE, Jake?
I am. I'll be there definitely. So yeah, if you want to have a catch up or a drink, then reach out on LinkedIn and we'll do that. Definitely, I'll be in attendance for sure.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Jake, for jumping in here today and analyzing the Evolution short seller report. And we wish you a good continued Friday here.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. Thanks a lot. Speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jake.
All right, so Nico, that was great. Now we're back. We had we had some nice comic relief there for a moment, and Jake is saving us today in the stream. I'm happy to see that. And also
Indeed.
nice.
It seems like it seems like the overall chat can just consist of two people actually joining or being the host, right? So as soon as Jake was taking over, I was dropping out, right? And yeah, it's interesting. Interesting to actually see it. Right?
Yes, absolutely. And also nice to have Daniel here. He's dancing salsa in Rio de Janeiro at the moment, but he made an exception to come in to say hi to us today. So really nice to see him here as well. And a lot of discussions around ice in the chat here in general. I think what James King pointed out in the chat here is a really good point. It seems that a lot of the major exhibitors are pulling out. However, there are a lot of people who are still going to ICE. I mean, I'm going to ICE. I don't know about you, Nico. Are you attending ICE?
Yes, I will.
Yeah. And so it seems that most people are still attending ICE, but it could be the case that a lot of the bigger organizations, instead of sending 100 people, they might send 10 people or something like that. But in either case, the important stakeholders are still attending ICE, as far as I am aware. So it's definitely still a show, even if it's smaller this year, still worth attending if you don't have Easter plan or family. That is, I guess. But that aside, Nico, we are 45 minutes into the stream and we've covered 1.5 topic. It's like always. Nicholas, our head of marketing in the background, always gets angry at us because we drag out the news too much. But this is so much to say, I guess. But what else do we have on the menu today here?
Yeah.
And we have 14 minutes left of this hour.
Okay, perfect. So why don't we just jump into a competitor of Evolution, talking about the Playtech bid from Aristocrat, which has been rejected by the shareholders. This is a topic which is, actually joining us, or we have to deal with for quite some time. There had been quite a lot of bids, not a lot of bids, but several bids on the Playtech. JKO, run by former Formula One team owner. Sorry, I'm just losing the name. Eddie Jordan. There was a consortium led by Eddie Jordan. They pulled out their offer, so it was only the Aristocrats offer. And then on the 2nd or 3rd, I'm pretty sure it was the 2nd of February, this had been put to vote to all the shareholders. And there was a yes needed by 75% of all the shareholders of Playtech on the offer, which was 680 pence per share. The shareholders, roughly 60%, so they were short 15% at least, voted yes to take this offer. But in the end, for sure, the offer was rejected. As of now, there are certain possible things which we can discuss. First of all, it's Playtech might be sold off in parts, but there's also another glimpse at the horizon, as if I'm not mistaken, it's TTO. What was the name of the Asian consortium, which had advised already in the past another bidder for the Playtech assets, and with a press release, Playtech enabled TTO to actually hand in a bid as well. So first of all, it's either Playtech will be sold off in parts, or there will be one bidder which will take the overall assets of Playtech in one piece.
Yeah, absolutely, Nico, and it's interesting. It's the Hong Kong investment group is called TTB Partners, essentially.
TTB,
and
yeah.
What's interesting to point out here, I mean, it's a very controversial outcome of the bid from Aristocrat, because when the Aristocrat bid was announced, the board of the directors of Playtech unanimously recommended that the shareholders go through with the acquisition. Now, at the end of the day, in the vote here the other day, only 56% or something like that voted for the deal. And when the deal fell through, the share price actually increased by like 13% when the bid fell apart. And the Playtech board has been very vocal, saying that they think that the best outcome for Playtech is for this bid to go through. And even still, and even with the ambiguity and with the controversy here, with this seemingly what has been reported on is that it's a small group of Asian shareholders who have been, during this period since the bid was announced, they have been buying Playtech shares, this smaller group of investors in Asia, in order to vote the acquisition down. It's very unusual and very controversial. And it seemingly they actually succeeded here, but also not only them as a group, but in conjunction with obviously a large part of the rest of the shareholders of Playtech as well. So there's a lot of controversy on that side, and the share price again increased significantly yesterday. And as you pointed out, there is a new bid on the horizon here by TTB Partners on Hong Kong Investment Group, and at the same time, Playtech has floated the idea to potentially sell off their B2C. So Entain has been interested, and the Italian B2C by Playtech, for example, they have shown interest. And essentially, there's a lot of ambiguity on the outcome here, what's next for Playtech, essentially. As we know, Playtech are involved, and they have their hands in the cookie jars in all the verticals in the iGaming industry. And the seemingly whatever the outcome is here, it seems that Playtech feels that either they want to sell or they want to break up the company to become more focused, kind of like what Aspire Global did here a couple of months ago, where they sold off their B2C in order to be more focused and streamlined on their B2B in order to iterate and take market share on that stance. And now, of course, the other week here, Aspire was acquired by Neo Games as well, which was a spectacular acquisition and a great testament to the success of Sachi Maimon and the team over at Aspire. So I thought that was quite interesting as well. And just from one thing to the other here as well, Bernd Henning is our friend, our mutual friend here. Nico is asking if there is anyone who has a list of operators that has pulled out. I guess you mean suppliers more than anything here, and the major list, the major names that have been confirmed to pull out are the likes of Merkur, Novomatic, EGT, IGT, Play and Go. There's a rumor that Microgaming potentially is about to pull out, but not confirmed yet officially. But Merkur, as Bogdan points out, Aristocrat, and potentially also Scientific Games and Relax. This is what the industry is talking about behind closed doors. So that's just first list, let's say, of names, and surely there are more exhibitors as well that should be put on that list. But it just goes to show the significance of pretty much all of the major exhibitors of ICE, especially on the land-based side, have decided to pull out for this year. But again, it's important to point out that in the press releases that are coming out, they are very adamant saying that ICE is the most important show for us, and we will be back next year. And again, on the delegate side of things, a lot of people are still going. And as Rory Credline pointed out, there's more than 400 exhibitors that will still be exhibiting at ICE. So it's not like it's going to be an empty conference hall. It's going to be a massive conference and expo, even though they have had exhibitors pulling out here, of course. So yes, Bernd, we can get back on you with the list here as well after the show as well, so you can get more names in writing as well. So yeah, that's Playtech and Aristocrat, Nico. Any other nuances to point out on that list as well?
On that list, as of now, not as you already mentioned. We will share and distribute the list of the operator suppliers, which we are already aware of. But why don't we just jump over to a short topic? As Disney, the Walt Disney Company, is now specifically searching for a senior manager running their sports betting vertical. So the Walt Disney Company has an open job position since the 30th of January, which is called Senior Manager of Sports Betting. So what Bob Chapek, it's the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, already announced during question and answer with some investors back in September, when he has been asked if the Walt Disney Company, is specifically eyeing on the sports betting vertical, he said officially that yes, of course, we are looking into the sports betting vertical. And since that date, there had been rumors flying around. Okay, how will the Walt Disney Company, with their vertical of ESPN Plus, and all their subscribers actually enter the sports betting market? There are, in the end, at least three solutions: building up their own sports book, cooperating with an existing operator, or buying an operator. Buying an operator, as of now, the WinBet licenses and the e-commerce businesses out there for sale, which is estimated at least $500 million, including 14 licenses. Also, the New York license is included within these 14 licenses as well. So it seems like Walt Disney is gaining some traction. Of course, as of now, it's just one open job position with the senior manager. But as soon as they will fill this position, I'm pretty sure they will build up a whole team. But first of all, you just need to have the name of someone which represents this vertical as well. So it's quite interesting to see how we can follow up on this topic as well.
Yeah, and actually, Jake Evans, who was in with us here earlier, he actually reached out to Disney and to ESPN for a comment on this very topic. We are very curious to follow up on this, to report on this, and they gave us a reply. But the reply was essentially that we have taken a decision not to give any comments or cooperate to give more insights on this topic. So Disney being secretive of their plans into the online sports betting plans that they potentially are having here. So interesting nonetheless, and this was foretold by the mystic Todd Haushalter years ago, that we would see the entrance of major mainstream media companies and platforms entering the online sports betting world, and this is actually now taking place. So we will definitely keep an eye on Disney and the next moves here. Also, Twitter has announced that they think that their platform, considering that it's so live, that it's so in the now, they think that their platform is primed for sports betting activity as well. An actual official statement by Twitter. Same thing there. We're trying to reach out to them for comments and for participation. And hopefully, as we go forward, we'll be able to report some more nuance on that story as well. So it's quite interesting there. And Daniel comments here as well that there's a 95% chance that they will disclose a multi-year, multi-billion media deal for ESPN, in other words. And so I guess what Daniel is alluding to here is that they would rent out the ESPN brand potentially to an operator who would leverage the brand essentially, and that Disney themselves wouldn't necessarily run a sportsbook here, but it would be leveraged by another partner essentially, and so on. So yeah, interesting to see what might come out of this.
Okay,
Nico, we have another 2 minutes here today, and I want to ask you actually. And in the meantime, while you explain, I would like to ask the audience as well, while you talk as well. For those of you guys who are listening now, it'd be really interesting to hear just because there's a lot of discussions around ICE. You as individuals, are you going to attend ICE? Because again, it seems like exhibitors are pulling out, but will you as individuals actually attend ICE? And have you heard actual that individuals are not going there kind of thing? Or is it mostly that you're hearing that it's exhibitors that are pulling out? So it'd be really interesting to hear for those who are listening who is actually going to attend themselves. And also interesting because then we know who to contact here for meetings as well. And maybe we can generate a couple of leads for each other here. Who knows? Great. We can see that it's a lot of yeses here. So again, the sentiment is that a lot of people are going. It is that some of the exhibitors have pulled out. So we're looking forward to a great show here. Nico, as a final question today, I want to jump over to the Florida sports betting saga here. That online sports betting in Florida is most likely on ice for the next coming years, which is a big blow to the consortium here of DraftKings and FanDuel, who have been lobbying heavily and spending a lot of money in order to legalize sports betting in Florida. Now, they were not successful. And can you wrap up that story a little bit again? Because it really is an important story to understand the dynamics currently at play in the North American market.
Yeah, especially in in North American sports betting happens on a state-by-state case and license, especially in the United States. So Florida was one of these states which could open up, but just for a monopole run by the Seminole tribe, representing the Hard Rock Cafe. And of course, they had a consortium putting this ballot into question. It was starting in November. In November. So what actually happened? Hard Rock, they actually closed down their offerings in Florida based on this ballot being in question. So what they needed to do is to gain roughly 900,000 verified signatures, which would then have been handed over to the Senate, and then the overall ballot, which is the underlying for an operator, the Seminole tribe, to actually offer their sports betting solution in the state of Florida. As said, as soon as this overall consortium started their getting signatures, in the end they spent $37 million just to keep this one up and running. In the end, they also had a total of 1.1 million signatures, and it was up to them to actually verify these signatures. And they fell short with verifying these signatures. They had roughly 500,000 signatures, so they fell short around 400,000 verified signatures. And then the outcome is, okay, this ballot can or will be valid at least until 2024. So each and every other operator has to wait until 2024 until the existing ballot can be put up to question once again. And as of now, we're just thrilled to see if the Seminole tribe will start offering their sportsbook in Florida once again, because as of now they could. So this is as of now the open question.
Absolutely. So Florida on ice, sports betting on ice until 2024 is the summary here essentially, and will be interesting to see if there's any further movement on that story as well. Nico, it's been an absolutely brilliant hour as always with you here today. I woke up like a little butterfly this morning, thinking that we were going to do this today. It's always an absolute pleasure. It's fun to do the things live, of course, for the audience as well. Even though it's a little bit shaky sometimes, but it's fun nonetheless, and it's nice to see that people are chiming in with their comments and feedback here that we can lift live in the stream. So yeah, Nico, do you have any final words here to salute the crowd with today, perhaps?
Yeah, first of all, I'm sorry that I fell short like 15 to 20 minutes. It wasn't like I was mute by any kind of conspiracy theory. Maybe we just have to work on getting a guest on board and just make a reliable internet connection. so that the overall kind of software solution can cope with at least 3 people. But we will just work on this one as well, right? So I'm sorry for falling short, but I'm pretty sure we just covered a lot of interesting topics as well.
Yeah, it was funny. Last week when we did this recording, Nico, we had some like internet issues at the end of the stream, and you were muted for like 20 seconds, and there was comments on the YouTube channel post that it was due to censorship from the Chinese government as we were talking about China. Yeah, maybe that is the case. The auto filtration system kicked in here again as we were talking before, but yeah, hopefully we can please the algorithm for the next week's session.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Nico, what do you say? Shall we go down to the beach and have a pina colada together?
We will. Like always. Looking forward to it.
Like always. All right, let's go down straight away. Nico,
Okay.
It's been an absolute pleasure. To the audience, we wish you a great Friday. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. Take care of each other. Stay safe, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye-bye. Nice weekend.